Hello, hello, hello. There's different energy today, Nathan Zegura, don't you think?
Oh, yes, that's right. Joint practices. You see the Eagles behind us. The Eagles have landed here at the Cross Country Mortgage Campus.
They have indeed, and there's been quite a bit of jabbering. We saw a pick six earlier that created a lot of energy. This is a extra special episode of Browns Live because it is indeed live.
That's
It
right.
is
Living up to the name today.
the first of two joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll get into the mechanics of all of that and what we expect to see, and obviously break down what we get to see. As
Yep.
Denzel Ward told us, he can't wait to actually go against somebody in a different colored uniform. But before we do that, we're looking at quarterback Josh Dobbs there, and the news of the day is that the NFL and Deshaun Watson have indeed reached a settlement on his discipline for violating the personal conduct policy. It is an 11-game suspension, which is up from the 6-game suspension originally imposed by former federal judge Sue Robinson, and it is down from the full season that was requested by the NFL. And it also includes a $5 million fine. The NFL and the Haslam family, the Browns organization, will each kick in an extra $1 million to that fine. And Deshaun Watson is expected to return or will be eligible to return for the Browns' 12th game.
That's right.
Which will be in Houston against his former team, the Texans. I guess notably, as we are going to talk about practice today, is that Kevin Stefanski said that he's had a plan all along with the uncertainty. Now that there is some certainty, they will reassess a little bit, but what he could say is that we'll likely see much, much less of Deshaun Watson in team drills and that he'll be doing more work off on the side.
Yeah, and I think we'll see Deshaun Watson maintain kind of what we have seen through these joint practices to get him that work. Kevin Stefanski saying he won't play in the preseason any longer. That is part of their plan. So this is the opportunity to give him game-like action here at the Cross Country Mortgage Campus against another opponent, but it is Jacoby Brissett's team now. The man you see standing there wearing number 7. He will be the Browns starting quarterback for the first 11 games this year, and so everything will be about getting him ready. He's working with the ones today against this Philadelphia Eagles team, which is, by the way, a darn impressive roster, a team coming off of a playoff appearance a year ago, and I think they made some nice additions in the offseason, certainly adding in, James Bradbury, Hassan Reddick to the D, and then the big trade for A.J. Brown, who's already had a couple big catches out here at Aditi. But this is a good test, but it is now Jacoby Brissett's team, and the good news is we just know what it is now.
And this is our expectation that these next 2 days, as we come to you, Browns Live, as you get to watch this will be essentially Jacoby Brissett's game action for this week of the preseason.
Absolutely.
As we've seen throughout camps across the country so far, when teams do engage in joint practices, the starting quarterback, for instance, the Cowboys and the Broncos, Dak Prescott, generally does not then play in the game. So Jacoby Brissett getting in this work right now against the Eagles is very key, clearly.
It is key, and I think that this is going to be the most extensive work he gets against another opponent. I don't know if we'll see him in that third preseason game. If we do, it will be limited against the Bears. But, yeah, he's going to get all that work, and what they love about the joint practice is the ability to create situations that you can't guarantee in a preseason game. So they will go through the red zone. They will go through 2-minute offense, all of those things against live defense. And this is, like I said, a very good defense of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, and so let's talk about that a little bit. The way that this actually works is that Kevin Stefanski, the Browns head coach, gets together, huddles with, whatever phrase you want to use, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni, and they say, okay, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? And then the two sets of coordinators talk to each other too. So Alex Van Pelt is talking to the Eagles defensive coordinator. Joe Woods is talking to the Eagles offensive coordinator. And, for instance, Jalen Hurts. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts, the Eagles quarterback. He had a very nice initial outing in his first preseason game. He went, I believe, 6 for 6, 80 yards, 1 touchdown. He didn't really see much crazy stuff. So will the Eagles have asked Joe Woods to throw some more complex defenses at him right now? That's what we're going to get a look at. And it's not just, like Denzel Ward told us the other day, iron sharpening iron. Although, tell the truth, Nathan, you're smiling because you're excited to see these Browns corners go up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yeah, it's a great matchup, and so far we've seen a big play to Devontae Smith and one to A.J. Brown, but we've also seen a pick six, as you mentioned, for the Browns D, and then Jacob Phillips got an interception as well. But Jalen Hurts, he's looked good, by the way, out here. I think he looks very good. I like this Eagles team a lot. You go through their roster, and it's complete, and there's going to be good work, wide receivers and corners. Our receivers against Darius Slay and James Bradbury. That's as good of a corner tandem as there is. And then they've got, our line going against Fletcher Cox. They draft Jordan Davis. When you saw him walk out here, I mean, that is And
That's a
Calais
big
Campbell's
man.
a big dude.
Yes, but Jordan Davis is a really big man.
Big dude, and they've got Brandon Graham, and they bring in Hassan Reddick. They've got Josh Sweat. So this is a lot of good tests, I think, for the Browns. But you're exactly right. They can get together and create situations. We'll do a move the ball period. We'll do a 2-minute period. We'll do a backed up period. We'll do a 4-minute offense period. We'll do the red zone, goal line, all those periods to get that work so that when we get to the season, you've experienced that in a controlled environment against other teams. And I think the best thing that I can say so far is I haven't seen any injuries, no fracases, good, crisp, clean action on both sides, I think, benefiting from these joint practices right now.
Did you look up fracas? Did you use
I love
your
the word
thesaurus?
fracas. No,
Did you
my
use
dad was an
that?
English
I always thought it was
teacher.
fracas. Fracas.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fracas.
Yeah, definitely a little fracas.
Kerfluffle. That's another one.
Kerfuffle's a good one, yeah.
That is a good one, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, one other piece of news as we get to this is that obviously when you talk about matchups, I imagine that Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson wanted to test themselves against the Browns' defensive ends, but Myles Garrett is still not actually back here at headquarters. He has been attending to a family member who is very unfortunately gravely ill. He is expected back at some point today, and we'll see if he practices tomorrow or not.
Right, but the expectation, as you said, that he'll be back here today, and so
At
he
some
will be
point.
back in the mix for the Browns as we take a look now at Jacoby Brissett and the number one offense of your Cleveland Browns getting to go get some work now against that top defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. Starts a little play action, rolling out to the right, throwing, and he completes it to Nick Chubb there.
This is a moment where you wish you sort of had the all 22.
You need that. And we're not going to get it. And I know that everybody wants it. You want it. I want it. Everybody wants it. And so a lot of times if you were to see the camera on me right now, I try to turn around because at least that way I can get an idea of what is happening on the play. As Jalen Hurts on the other side, their offense going against our defense. Look for Dallas Goedert down the field. Ronnie Harrison was in good coverage, and that fell incomplete. And now Brissett here with a handoff this time. Yeah, so we got to talk to the young camera people out there. Once he hands it off, don't follow him. Get me on that ball. Follow the ball. We can stay tight, but let's follow the football there, and that was Jerome Ford. What a debut he had.
Such a debut Friday night.
102 total yards and the 2 touchdowns for the young man out of Cincinnati. Look at the line, and that is your Browns line right now. Wills, Bitonio, Ethan Posick takes over at center. He has 40 career starts. Right guard, of course, Wyatt Teller, and then right tackle. I couldn't see there, but it looked like it was Chris Hubbard earlier, so you got Hubbard and Hudson. It seems as though Jack Conklin's still not participating in these team drills just yet.
And we haven't had any sort of update to think that there's a setback. If anything,
No.
he is a little bit ahead of schedule, and I think the expectation is indeed that we will see Jack Conklin when it comes to week 1 down in Carolina. There's Amari Cooper, of course.
Yeah, catching that ball from Jacoby Brissett. Nice little bit of pressure from Josh Sweat, number 94 of the Eagles, off the edge there working against Jed Wills.
It's interesting how much the environment in the wide receiver room has changed in 1 year, with Amari Cooper being the tone setter, the quiet, steadfast, all business Amari Cooper being the tone setter there. You know, I
Yes.
love the point that you made the other day about Ethan Posick. Of course, the Browns lost the center that they thought that they would have this year, Nick Harris, and then they lost another center in Dawson Deaton. But it is actually Ethan Posick that Jacoby Brissett has spent the majority of his practice reps
That's
with,
right.
because up until this week, Deshaun Watson was taking the majority of the first-team reps. Jacoby would come in and get 1 first-team rep, but then he was working with the 2s, and the
Yep.
number 2 center was Ethan Posick.
Yeah, and we saw, go back into Jacksonville. Posick comes in. There was a little center quarterback exchange mishap with Deshaun Watson, but he and Posick, speaking of Jacoby Brissett, have been on the same page the entire time. And now we're seeing Watson in there. That is with the starting offensive line, so he's in that role Brissett was in, just to give him some work against a very good Eagles team. And Watson drops back, looks, pumps, throws, and misses Amari Cooper on the sideline. Darius Slay nearby in coverage. And then over on the other field, the Browns D holding up pretty well right now against this first team of the Eagles. But I'm going to tell you this, watching them, you talk about A.J. Brown on one side, Devontae Smith on the other. You got Quez Watkins, who averaged 15 yards a catch for him, as the third, and then Dallas Goedert. They have absolute weapons on the outside. The Browns D, back-to-back plays there. M.J. Emerson had a great PBU on Devontae Smith and was right there in coverage and broke up another one as we look at Deshaun Watson here. And so we're focusing on the Browns offense, so I'm giving you a little look-ski at the other one. Plus, I can see that one because the offense is on the other side of the world.
I was actually just going to make a point of saying that Nathan Zegura is bringing you this play-by-play without even the use of binoculars.
That's right.
I wish we could explain how far away we really actually are. I mean, it's about 50 yards.
Oh,
wouldn't you
yeah,
say?
for sure, for sure. And then on the other side, that's Nakia Griffin-Stewart, caught 3 targets, 3 catches for over 30 yards in that first preseason game. A move tight end. He has made an impression on T.C. McCartney, the Browns tight end coach, and that offensive staff. So he's somebody to keep a look on. This is a team that likes its tight ends. Could he maybe fight for a roster spot here? As on the defensive side, a nice PBU, Ronnie Harrison, breaking up a pass intended for Dallas Goedert, the excellent tight end of the Eagles.
I appreciate it as we talk about the Browns secondary, how Denzel Ward openly admitted that, yes, they are taking the chatter personally and their rankings personally, and there's Donovan Peoples-Jones right there.
Yeah, little play action right there from Deshaun Watson. We were talking the centers earlier. One thing to note, they are getting the first, second team reps right now in this drill. Michael Dunn, who has played at guard for the Browns, getting work at center along with Yelda Froholt following the injuries to not just Nick Harris. Remember, they also lost their seventh round pick, Dawson Deaton, the center out of Texas Tech. And so 2 centers down, and then they were able to still have a lot of guys in this building who are able to play that position, getting work now, and that's done at center with Deshaun Watson in the shotgun. They say, no, no, no. No over there, you over there, talking to Zaire Mitchell-Payton. Dearness Johnson on his left hip in that shotgun there. And now Dunn's back at guard. They switched it one play, and Froholt there as Watson goes down the field and just overshoots Mike Hartley Jr. on the go route.
Who, fortunately, that one ankle that seemed to have been an issue that one day in practice, he's come off of it without any sort of issue. Hasn't even missed any time. And as we talk about a group of young, deep receivers, he was somebody that had been making some noise, and you appreciate the fact that he's not missing any time.
No, and he came back, had a nice touchdown in a 2-minute drill from Deshaun Watson on Tuesday, which was the last time we saw this Browns team. But in the game against Jacksonville, was out there a lot, didn't get any targets. And so this is an opportunity. He's going to get to play a lot against the Eagles. Can he get open? Can he get the football from Josh Dobbs and Josh Rosen to kind of continue that momentum that he had started to build? As we now see the starting offensive line back in there again with Deshaun Watson, taking the snap from Ethan Posick, and a quick little hand to Nick Chubb. I just love watching Nick Chubb run the ball.
Are we going to see Nick Chubb in the preseason at all, you think?
I don't think so. I don't know.
You don't even think the Bears game? They won't throw him out for one series?
No, I don't think there's no reason to do it, no need to see him. I think he is just fine as on the field behind us. Isaac Rochelle, who had a sack down in Jacksonville, had what he's going to call a sack for sure. He's lobbying the officials right there, going after Gardner Minshew, the backup quarterback of the Eagles, who is one of the better backups in the league, isn't he, Gardner Minshew? I mean, you go look at his stats.
I just love Minshew Mania. Can we go with that? I mean, what backup has a following quite like that?
Nobody. But, I mean, I was looking up his stats. 41 touchdowns, 12 picks for Gardner Minshew. Like, I never would have believed that in a billion years.
If there is any organization that understands and appreciates the value of a backup quarterback and an exceptionally quality backup quarterback, it is the Philadelphia Eagles. See Nick Foles. And on that note, let's take a super quick break here at Browns Live. We will be right back with more live coverage of this Browns-Eagles joint practice. Welcome back to Browns Live. It is Thursday. It is day one of the joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles. There's been a little bit of extra energy out on the field.
No doubt.
And the Browns defense is showing a very, very, very good Eagles offense. Some game right now, I'd say.
Yeah, no doubt. We've seen a couple of nice pass breakups from M.J. Emerson. We talked about the picks earlier, Parnell Motley and Jacob Phillips. And then Alex Wright, the rookie third-rounder, had a nice sack on one of the last plays, got it right around the guard. He was lined up inside and was able to get towards the quarterback and make a play. We just got a pass deflection right there from Jordan Kunashik. And it looks like this period is going to wrap up now. The linebacker who just joined the team last week. But some good work. I will say this. The Eagles made some plays. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. It is a very talented offense that they have. I think that's one of the best pass-catching trios in the league, honestly. When you think about two receivers and a tight end, that might be as good as it gets. They put some plays out there, but so did the Browns. I think they put some good things on tape, and Jadeveon Clowney had one where he threw Lane Johnson on the ground, which stunned me. The next play, that did not happen. Lane Johnson was like, okay, all right, that's what we're doing, and was able to bounce back. But some good stuff out there, and again, good, clean, which is the most important part. No injuries, no fracases, no fighting. No issues, just some good football. And for the Browns on the offense, it felt efficient. I didn't see any big plays down the field, but it felt very efficient, maybe one of the big plays to Miller Forrestal.
And in general, that is sort of what we're expecting
That's
out of a Jacoby Brissett offense.
Yep.
And it'll be a ball control, two tight end, run the ball, be methodical, maybe a big play here or there, but not necessarily one of those offenses that's beating you in that way.
No, you're right about that. And now what we're getting here on the field behind us, it almost looks like we're doing like a little bit of a special teams. Now it's their punting. Earlier we'd seen the Browns do punting with their team, and now it is for special teams the other way. The Eagles punter on the field and Demetric Felton back for the Browns. And figuring out this return game is going to be something that really needs to happen over the next couple of weeks, Aditi. We saw in week one of the preseason, Jamarcus Bradley handled the kicks and the punts. Now you've got Demetric Felton back there who handled punts and making his way onto the field. Next, number 80, Aesop Winston. The Browns just signed, who was with the Saints last year, returned 10 punts for 119 yards, so 11.9 per return. That's pretty good. He had a long of 34, and they're seeing if maybe they brought him in here to see if he can give this return game a boost.
And these are jobs that are very much open right now. After what happened to Jakeem Grant, clearly this is something that's an area of focus and something the Browns wanted to get better at. You know how I feel about the young Demetric Felton. I love his versatility.
Sure.
Love the fact that he's sometimes in the running back room and sometimes in the wide receiver room and can toggle back and forth in any given practice. He approaches everything he's doing with a smile on his face, and as he said to me, his favorite position is the one that most helps the team.
Exactly. He's a ball player, and that's what Kevin Stefanski would say about him. And speaking of Kevin Stefanski on that last one, our D'Anthony Bell got locked up with Zach McPherson of the Eagles in this special teams drill, and they had to walk to the sideline together and get a little, okay, let's keep this nice and calm there. So both coaches on both sides trying to stay on top of that, making sure everything stays very clean here, and right down the middle, baby, as they
On a
would
random
say.
side note, for a Philly guy, Kevin Stefanski does not have a Philly personality.
So what I've been told, I would, at
As
face
someone
value,
who grew up in Central Jersey and whose brother went to Penn actually at the same time as Kevin Stefanski.
face value, I think you are 100% right. This is something we're seeing now. Ronnie Harrison, the Browns safety, returning punts, trying to take one there, and that one was just absolutely boomed. But
Maybe.
what I'm told is, outwardly, public persona, not much Philly. I'm told he starts all his texts with yo, which I think fits in pretty well, and that there is a side of him that certainly possesses the capability to be very Philly, as I'm sure you're talking about. And he's over there right now still talking to D'Anthony Bell, who's been a heck of a story here in Berea.
He does actually start his texts with yo.
See? There it is.
Nathan Zegura, spitting facts.
Listen, that's what we try to do.
Facts.
That's what we try to do here on this program. You see Mike Harley Jr. there. And so the Browns are going to try to get a lot of guys involved in this punt return. But, yeah, Kevin Stefanski, listen, he's not going to back down from anybody. He is a scrapper. I see the guy in the gym all the time. He gets after it. I just think publicly he's a very calm person, which probably belies some of his Philly roots, as you point out.
I'm not telling Browns fans anything that they don't already know, but I remember being in college, and Bill Arnsparger Sr. was the special teams coordinator. He had long retired from the Dolphins and all of that, and he had come and was coaching the special teams at Cornell because his son, David, was on the staff. And I remember him telling me, the biggest mistake that people make in football is thinking that there are two units. It's not just an offense and a defense. It is a special teams unit. We saw that with the Green Bay Packers a year ago. We saw Andrew Berry drafting a kicker in the 4th round because this unit, this special teams unit, counts for so much, means so much. When you talk about the return game, field position, it's a field position game. What else do we say? I mean, I almost feel silly saying that, but this is very interesting to me to see who is going to sort of get a position here, make himself a role, make himself invaluable. And remember, as we talk about some of these young receivers, the more you do, the more valuable you are. If you can prove, if you might sort of be on the border, if you're a 6th or 7th receiver, but you're the number 1 return guy, you've just earned yourself a spot on the Cleveland Browns.
There's no doubt about it. And you're talking about a situation where if you are the 6th corner, 5th corner, you've got to play special teams. Your 3rd, 4th, 5th safety, if we keep that many, you're playing special teams. Your linebackers are all playing special teams. A lot of your tight ends are playing special teams. We're starting to get a little chippiness right now. Starting to get a little chippy on the sidelines right now. A couple of the Eagles have surrounded a couple of the Browns, A.J. Green and Rich LeCount over there, and they're chirping, and the Eagles coach saying, you get back on your side. The Browns saying, we're going to go over on our side right here. Everybody calm down, and it's Sean Bradley, the linebacker out of Temple, who's over there chirping on the Eagles' behalf. But you're right, special teams is so important.
Was that just waving a flag or trying to throw a flag?
I don't know what he was doing. If the official was saying, all right, I'm teasing you with this flag, I don't know what he was doing right here, but he was just trying to keep everybody, prevent any fights from breaking out, which is good to see. But you're making such a good point. And for the Browns, they made an investment in Cade York. They made an investment in Jakeem Grant, and now they're not going to get to reap any type of a return on that investment in Jakeem Grant, so they're going to have to next man up. It's the reality of the NFL, but they dedicate so much practice time to special teams, do the Browns. And in Mike Prefer, they feel they have one of the elite special teams coordinators in this league. The Browns have been one of the top coverage units, year in and year out under Mike Prefer. And so they just need to get a little bit more on the offensive side of special teams, which is that return game and then having the kicker. And it feels like in Cade York, they found that guy. I mean, I can't tell you what he's going to do in the season, but if he does what he's done out here, he's pretty darn good, Aditi.
Well, I'll tell you, I was out at First Energy Stadium on Tuesday, and the wind was whipping even on Tuesday. It was a temperate day. It was in the 70s. There was a little bit of rain, but it was probably that lake effect rain. But this is what Cade was talking about with me, is that he's went out this summer multiple times to the stadium, that even in the winter, even though the wind whips so much more violently and so much more visibly in the winter, it's still an issue now.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I am eager to see him kick there Sunday in the game against the Eagles, because of course he will play in that game. I'll tell you a little aside. I was talking to the head groundskeeper, who has been the head groundskeeper at
laying
First
in
Energy
the new turf,
Stadium,
right?
correct, for 24 years. And he said the player that complained about the quality of the grass the most was?
I have no clue. I'm excited. No clue. Joe Thomas would be but who?
Who complains in general? Who is so specific about every little
Phil
millimeter?
Dawson?
There you go.
Phil
Ding,
Dawson.
ding, ding.
There it is.
And
Okay.
so he said to me that in September and October, Phil Dawson would talk to me, but in November and December, he wouldn't speak to
Done.
me.
He's
So
done
I
with
came
him.
and I told Cade York that story, and I said, I hope that you behave a little bit better.
I think he will. He seems to be a very mild-mannered guy in Cade York, so that is good. Listen, that's important. Your plant foot is what matters the most, right, to these kickers.
And the quality of the grass. Well, it's a brand new sod field, so we're excited to see it. And, of course, the logo, the center logo, has not yet been decided upon, so we will not see that Sunday.
No.
And we won't see that, I believe, for the Bears
Nope.
preseason game either. It will be
Home opener
unveiled week 1.
Against the Jets.
And how
Week
many
2.
times have you voted?
Every day. I have a very particular one that I like the best.
Every day Nathan Zegura has been voting.
You should too.
Fortunately, it is legal. Okay, on that note, we'll take a really quick break here at Browns Live, and we'll be right back with more team drills. Welcome back to Browns Live. We've got all of the players on one field right now. It looks like the Browns offense is going against the Eagles defense. And let's just go to it.
Yeah, let's get right in there. One thing we'll tell you, Alex Taylor working at left tackle right now, James Hudson at right tackle. So keep tabs on that if there's anything to it, or just trying to get guys work here against this Eagles team. You see Jacoby Brissett in the shotgun right now. Kareem Hunt off of his left hip.
That was about the shortest hold-in in the history of the NFL.
I believe that it was, and there's something we've seen a lot of, and that is Jacoby
nice
Brissett
reception by Amari Cooper
to Amari Cooper, and it was once 2 days. It was a 2-day hold-in, and then things were resolved, and apparently everybody's happy. Kareem Hunt happy to be a part of the Browns. The Browns certainly happy to have Kareem Hunt, and we're moving forward. And look, because of today's news, the 11-game suspension, this is a team that is going to lean on its defense, and it's going to lean on its unbelievably talented backfield duo of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And Chubb now behind Brissett as he goes under center.
A point that has been made repeatedly by Andrew Berea about Jacoby Brissett and by Kevin Stefanski is how much football he has been a part of.
Yep.
In New England, in Indianapolis, that this is in many ways a seasoned veteran who's been in all sorts of circumstances and situations, who's seen teams that work and perhaps could have worked better. or it could have worked worse, and that's all valuable experience that informs this. And I'll say it again, I said it before, it was very, very notable to me Friday night watching Deshaun Watson and Jacoby Brissett in lockstep on everything. When they went out to congratulate players, they'd be standing next to each other. Neither one was very pushy, or it was as if they were both conscious of not being the first one out there. They've shared this team. They are co-sharing this team at this point, and now clearly it will become Jacoby Brissett's team for, as you said, the first 11 games of the season.
Yeah, and he's made a great impression here, and the team respects him. The team believes in him, as we saw Demetric Felton with a nice run around the right edge right there for a first down. But Jacoby Brissett, you're right, and he's got experience not only himself, but he's been in rooms with Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been in a quarterback room with Andrew Luck. He's been in a quarterback room with Phillip Rivers. And so this is somebody who has been around quarterbacks who have played at the very highest of levels, and he has learned from them as he goes over the middle for David Bell. We get a little bit of a flag coming in from the backside. Illegal contact. First down, Browns. Pass interference defense. We'll take all the yards. Let's go. First down, Browns. And that's the play that they will end that period on. And now we see the Eagles behind us, their offense coming onto the field, and the Browns D coming onto the field.
It is nice to see David Bell back out there. You know, one of the things that assistant wide receiver coach Callie Brownson was saying about Bell, because of course he did miss some time early in camp, is that she's never seen a player who took such advantage of mental reps. And that is clearly something that we've talked a fair amount of, how smart David Bell is out of Purdue, how smart Greg Newsome is, how intelligent so many of these players are, and the versatility that offers this coaching staff. So as we now switch over to the Browns defense, as you all know on Browns Live, we like to focus on certain positions. And today, why don't we get to the linebackers?
Yeah, we'll start with the linebackers. You see Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in pursuit there. And this is a group for Coach Jason Tarver that they really think has 4 starters. You got Anthony Walker Jr., who led your team in tackles last year, over 100. You got the great J.O.K. You got Sione Takitaki, and then Jacob Phillips, who they like quite a bit. And so this is a group that they think is very versatile. They can play the run. They can cover in spaces. We're seeing a little hurry-up drill right now, it looks like, as we saw this in their first preseason game, Aditi. The Eagles with Jalen Hurts out there going in that hurry-up. And so it's good to have guys who have all been together, all in this system, who can communicate, because right now it's get-up-and-go time as they're throwing it underneath right now for another completion there from Hurts.
As we look at J.O.K. here, who of course was a second-round pick a year ago, played in 14 games, had 76 tackles, which was second on the team to Anthony Walker's 113. We know the speed he has. We know the quickness. We know the natural instincts that he plays with. I think that ideally the Browns this year would like to see him play a few more snaps.
Yes.
Become that every single down linebacker.
And that's what they think. He has a chance to become a superstar playmaker in this defense. And he was regarded as one of the best rookies in the league last year. But not only that, Pro Football Focus had him as the number 6 linebacker in the league because of his ability to make plays. He's a tremendous blitzer. He's good in coverage. And so the challenge Jason Tarver's laid out to him is to become a totally complete linebacker. And that's to your point. So you can play every single snap. He's great against the run, as I said, great blitzing, and he is great in man coverage. And so the challenge this year, become better with the feel of the game, those zone drops, the spot drops as a part of our passing defense. And they think if he can do that, and he's shown the aptitude to do so, that he has a chance to be one of the premier off-ball linebackers in the game.
Okay, so let's turn to number 50, Jacob Phillips, the third-round pick the year before in 2020. And, of course, last year he was limited to what, Nathan? Just 4 games, right, with that biceps injury.
123 snaps, but productive. 17 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, 3 passes defense. They just want to see more. That's the key.
You know, and we had the opportunity to talk to him last week in advance of this first game down in Jacksonville, and he said that he feels stronger than he's ever been in his entire life. He feels better, and I'll give you one guess what he's crediting all of that for.
Diet.
Yes!
Really?
He is almost entirely a vegetarian.
I knew that.
He said that Jarvis Landry really talked to him a lot about what he's putting into his body. He looked into the anti-inflammatory properties associated with certain plants and vegetables. I, as a vegetarian, was intrigued by this
Love
and
that.
continued the conversation with him. And he very openly admitted to me that he is not 100%, that he does cook, that he does enjoy plant-based proteins, but he's still probably only about 95% because there are some days that he is so tired and so hungry, and the fast food options available to him around the facility largely skew towards meat. I need
true.
to talk to him about Aladdin's, though. I think
Aladdin's
Aladdin's
is
could
great.
give him some good,
absolutely.
options, some good vegetarian options. But in any case, Jacob Phillips is coming in this season feeling very excited about the possibilities and what he could do. And as we said, he says that he's in the best shape of his life.
And the Browns are thrilled about it, too. They just need to see him, and it was last year in the joint practice with the Jets when he suffered that elbow injury that caused him to miss the majority of the season there. As the Browns offense, you're seeing it led by Deshaun Watson, and this time you've got Blake Hance, it looks like, getting some reps at center right now, number 62 for the Cleveland Browns, if I can identify that. I believe you got Drew Forbes at one guard, and at the other guard, looks like Hopkins at the other guard.
Nathan, that might be my favorite story ever, by the way.
Which
the
one?
Browns playing in a playoff game at their rival Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's right.
And Joel Bitonio, sadly, is at home with COVID. And Kevin Stefanski is at home in his basement with COVID. And not only do the Browns win, but afterwards, Baker tells us that he went up to this quote-unquote kid in the locker room and introduced himself.
He did, because Michael Dunn got the start, and then he got hurt late in that game, and Hance had to come in and play left guard for the rest of it. By the way, from the shot, I had that wrong. It was the angle was off. It's still Michael Dunn at center. Blake Hance is at right guard. Ben Petrula at right tackle right now out there with Deshaun Watson against this Eagles team. But, yeah, it's wild, and then Blake Hance goes from that guy, Blake, to starting at left tackle, starting at right tackle last year, even though he's an interior offensive lineman. And so that was a wild season for the Browns as we see our offense back on the field. By the way, defense did a good job last play. They tried to take a shot down the field, greedy with a PBU. As you look at Anthony Walker Jr. there, and Ben Bloom told me, the Browns run game coordinator on defense and works with the linebackers, and Jason Tarver, he said, he makes us be better coaches because he's got all the answers. And so if you're not on it and you don't know what you should be saying, Anthony Walker Jr. is going to correct you. And so they love having AWOC. He wanted to come back and be a part of this, back on a one-year deal, and the Browns are thrilled to have his leadership and his talent.
And that's exactly it. He is the epitome of leadership. He is that veteran voice you want. He is the one that brings that energy every single day, but with a seasoned experience. And, you know, we saw it Friday in Jacksonville, and we see it in practice. The first guy celebrating any defensive player's move is Anthony Walker Jr.
He's just, as somebody would say, my buddy the kid would say, he's a fine man. Just
He
a
is.
good human being, always positive, works very, very hard. And that's
At
what
his craft,
you
correct.
talk to anybody, and that's the first thing they say, outstanding leader, beloved in the locker room, respected in the locker room, and that's what makes him so effective. And I think the young guys would tell you they're so lucky, even though he's not an old guy in his own right, 5 years in the league. But for a Jacob Phillips, for Sione Takitaki, for a JOK, to have a coach in the room on the field like Anthony Walker Jr. has been great for our linebacking core, and he is a very, very valued part. And by the way, not only is he loved by the linebackers, the DBs love him as well. He is, to my knowledge, the only non-DB on the team to have the coveted defensive backroom hoodie as well. As now there's all these different coveted hoodies out there now, Aditi.
I don't have one of those. I don't have a defensive back hoodie.
Well, you got the other one. You had the original.
I do
an
have
OG.
the original, although I'm not sure that I'm allowed to still admit that.
That's okay. You don't tell anybody. Listen, if you have it, you have it. That's all. That's all that matters. You know. So does
if
she?
I do indeed have
we do.
one.
We don't. Yeah,
or
of
not.
course. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, and there, next to Berea Winfrey, our fan favorite, is Sione Takitaki, who, quite frankly, when he was drafted, I thought was an instant fan favorite, talking about what he did as he was trying to work his way back into football and how important the game had become. It seems to me, Nathan, he slimmed down a little bit.
Yeah, he's gotten some speed on him. He's playing multiple linebacker positions. He's the Sam. Look, the guy is physical. When you think of a blue-collar, physical, violent linebacker on this football team, you think of Sione Takitaki. And a couple years ago when the Eagles came here, he got a pick six. He was the game captain, had a pick six in that one against the Eagles. But he credits his wife, Alyssa, who was a swimmer at BYU where he was when he got himself in a little bit of trouble of turning his life around. And here's the best part. You talk about a blue-collar. They say he's a lunch pail, hard hat guy. Well, he and his brother actually own Taki Construction. So if you need any concrete work around here, anybody, call up the Taki Takis. You know
Well,
they're
and
going
that's
to take
in
care of you.
fact what he did when he had to step away from football for a little while in college. He did indeed go to work in construction with, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was his father's company or his uncle's
Originally,
company?
and his father tragically died while he was only 14 for cancer. And so one of the things that Taki always focuses on is trying to help people in those situations and advance cancer research. But yeah, that's exactly right. And now it's he and his brother have Taki Construction. So look at him.
Lunch pail, hard hat guys. That's
You gotta love it.
exactly
Of
what
course
the
he should
Browns
have
want
it.
on
I mean,
this defense.
and if you think about the throwback days of the NFL, when you're doing two-a-days and then the guys would have real jobs in the year, they would have Taki fit right in. He could play in any era of football.
You know, this is a division that's going to have some really good defenses. We know that the Steelers have the #1 highest paid defense and have some legitimate game breakers on that defense. You've got
Speaking
the
of, we just willed him
Bengals.
right into
Yes.
a tackle for a loss right there. Taki, let's go.
The Bengals, of course, it was their
Yep.
defense that came up so key last year in that run to the Super Bowl, playing so well together and returning everybody once again.
And the Ravens are always good. You can never count out the Baltimore Ravens. They're just
Not with John Harbaugh there.
they're
No,
just
you
good,
can't.
and they get what Kyle Hamilton's his name from Notre Dame, the safety they got in the first round, who's a
Yes.
stud. They just they're always good. You just like I said, you just can't ever.
And a new defensive
discount
coordinator
them.
there in Baltimore, of course, right? A familiar face.
Taki again blows up the wide receiver
listening to
screen
you.
right now. He's listening. He said, "I brought my hard hat. I brought the lunch pail, baby.
He's
I've
like,
seen
I
those
need
screens."
to make them look good. They're
Yes,
talking
thank
about
you.
me. I better make them look good. And just as we're talking about leadership, look at Anthony Walker right there running the huddle.
There he is, the Mike linebacker of the Cleveland Browns. And so he's out there right now with Taki. So this is the twos versus the twos, as you're seeing Gardner Minshew leading the Eagles at quarterback for them. And then we see Taki out there with Awok. And really all these guys at our linebacker room, those top four I mentioned, they'll work with the ones and the twos. They're kind of interchangeable, as Taki showing a little bit of a blitz there off of the quarterback's left side. And he is indeed coming. And, oh, yeah, Isaac Rochelle, he of the sack down in Jacksonville. He picks up one there. He's going to tell the official, no, that's a sack. Let's blow this one dead here. And that's what I love about these ones where you can't actually touch the guy or hit him to the ground or anything. It's both sides can say, no, I would have gotten out of that. And on the Brown side, no, definitely a sack there. You're down.
Flags. Why don't they just use flag football flags? Yank the flag.
I don't even think they want him getting that close because he could have tried to strip that ball out right there from Minshew's hand. And he didn't even take a swipe at it. I just don't think
Just
they
in
want any
case.
part of it. Yeah, they don't want any part of it.
All right, taking a look at Anthony Walker Jr. here, setting the defense.
I'm still not used to the Guardian caps. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, I am kind of used to them. Oh, coming up, Rich LeCount lowering a shoulder in there on the running
Taki
back.
trying to yank the ball away that time right
I like
there.
it. But he's not wearing a red jersey. The quarterbacks are the ones who get all the special rules as Taki heads to the sideline. And real quickly, just to kind of flesh out this linebacker room. So we mentioned the four guys who are the starters. And then there's some competition. And I think a guy who really helped himself down in Jacksonville was Dakota Allen, who led the team with 8 tackles, had a tackle for a loss. He was a core special teams guy for the Jags for years, and so now he gets the opportunity to do that with the Browns, but showed he can also play linebacker. And then Tony Fields, who was second with 7 tackles in that game, number 42, your 5th-round pick a year ago. He just came in for Taki there, and in coverage just got beat by the tight end, unfortunately. We gave him an opportunity. That was number 89, Jack Stoll, the big tight end out of Georgia, out of Nebraska, making that catch, as this is a move the ball period, and now the Eagles would say are in business across the 50.
And what's the value in your mind of having an Anthony Walker on the field right now with all these young players?
Making sure that they are aligned properly, being a coach for them, helping them know before the snap, hey, watch this, hey, be on the lookout for this. You know, that's one of the things that the Browns were pleased with, but also not pleased with down in Jacksonville, is they felt that there weren't a ton of mental errors or missed assignments, but there still were some. And Anthony Walker Jr.'s, did not participate in that game for the Browns. And so having him out there is what the coach will say. It's having a coach on the field. And as the Mike linebacker, he's the one calling the defense, setting the defense, and he's able to talk and make sure that everybody's in the right spot. So they may do whatever they do after the ball snap, but we're at least going to start off the way we're supposed to and know what we're supposed to do when the ball is, in fact, snapped by the Eagles.
And that's so much of it. And in this game, as you know, are they calling it now? Well,
That's
as
it.
we were going to say really quickly, in this game, as you know, you're one snap away from getting in. And if you have your opportunity, you better make sure that you've got your P's and your Q's. Well, this was an extremely successful first joint practice. Our expectation is that JOK is actually going to come and talk to us. So
All right.
we can see if he thinks it was successful. But in the Nathan Zegura chart of check marks. No injuries, check mark.
Yep.
No fracases,
Check.
mark. Good work,
Check.
good competition on
Yeah.
both ends, and a little bit of juice,
And
a
some-
little bit of excitement.
Some back and forth, and really the value, last year we go against the Giants. We dominated them day one of the joint practice. Well, it turns out the Giants weren't great. We ended up not having a great season. In this case, this is an Eagles team that is good. This is a good football
This is a
team.
really
and
good
obviously,
football team.
injuries can happen and derail that. But if they take this football team into the season, I really believe that they have a very good shot to win, and I think they should be the favorites in the NFC East. This is a complete team on offense. It is a complete team on defense. They can be explosive with the ball. They can get after the quarterback. They have Slay and Bradbury. That's, Ward Newsome. They're in the conversation as one of the best cornerback tandems in the league as well. So this is great work, I think, for the Cleveland Browns. And by the way, when you get to go against Jalen Hurts, not only are you getting a guy who can throw the ball effectively, but last year he ran over 700 yards, 10 touchdowns. Right. We're going to have to deal with Lamar Jackson. That's just the way that our division is set up. And so this is good work against a quarterback with elite skills with his legs as well as his arm.
And one other thing here, as we sit here and we look at Kevin Stefanski, he has preached this entire camp, control what you can control. He has, and we have remarked on this over and over. I do know that you are a Browns employee, and we are doing this for Browns Live, but it is indeed the truth that this is an organization, this is a club, this is a team. These are players that legitimately have come out here every day focused on the task at hand and have not allowed themselves to be distracted by everything else. Now today, when you finally have this decision, this final settlement come down with Deshaun Watson, when it goes from what at one point looked like could be a 6-game suspension to an 11-game suspension, there wasn't any distraction on that field. There wasn't any lack of energy. And this is a team that clearly had to change things up today, because ordinarily every morning we see a walkthrough, but as this settlement was getting hammered out, the players were not, in fact, out on the field going through their ordinary normal morning walkthrough that generally ends at 11 a.m. So once again, credit to Kevin Stefanski for keeping his players in the eyes of all sorts of Michigas.
Tumult. Yes.
Tumult. So there's another English teacher word.
That's right.
SAT word for you right there.
In the face of, there is adversity here, right? And it's not even, who cares to argue, self-inflicted, whatever. There is adversity here for this football team, and there are distractions here for this football team, and they've done a very good job staying focused on the task at hand. And we've seen that from the top of the roster to the bottom. I mean, you can't go out and turn in the performance in Jacksonville from quarters 2 through 4 without the bottom guys on your roster being bought into your program, dedicating themselves, receiving good coaching, and going out and making plays. And that's exactly what they did that allowed the Browns to go and beat the Jags in that preseason game. And that, look, wins and losses don't matter in the preseason. We all know that. It has nothing to do with anything. But it just shows the quality of play that you were able to get and the commitment and the buy-in and the fact that they are able to remain focused in the face of some of these, quite frankly, large distractions. And hopefully the Browns, they can keep that going.
There's my buddy, Booby Miles Sanders, who, by the way,
Darn
just
good player.
played in a charity softball game with me.
Oh, yeah?
About a month ago. Yes, that was Cam Hayward's softball game.
How
was
did he
my
do?
teammate. Fine.
How'd you do?
Well, I grounded out twice, but I made contact. That was better than Deion Lewis did, by the way. I made no errors in the field.
Deion Lewis, no contact?
We got our butts kicked, though. I mean, we were playing the entire Steelers team. It was Cam Hayward and Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and Alex Highsmith and Tyson Alualu. And it was Jalen Rose, who's like 50 years old, and me and Malcolm Jenkins and Deion Lewis, both of whom are retired,
Yeah.
We were kind of, it was like
Deion
the Harlem
Lewis was
Globetrotters. And
was Deion Lewis the right man? He was with the Browns.
Yes,
Yeah.
you don't remember,
I remember him?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's a pit running back who played with the Browns. Deion Lewis took care of me. He played short, I played second. And while I fielded all the grounders cleanly, whenever there was a fly ball, he came over to the other side, just in case.
He was like Kelly Leak from the Bad News Bears, making sure you didn't have to do anything.
Miles Sanders, of course, has a little bit of a hamstring tweak, so we haven't been able to see him, but he is a very talented young running back.
Yeah. And like I said, this is a good offense of the Philadelphia Eagles. And, you like to see some of these offensive linemen getting together over there. Big Landon Dickerson talking with Jed Wills and Jack Conklin behind us.
I love watching these players get together and chat and reconnect. And I think that that's the collegiality of the NFL in some ways. And it's nice to see it here.
It's
It's
awesome.
also nice to see how they can help each other as well, and we have seen a little bit of that. You
Yeah,
get to pick a brain of somebody who's very good at your craft. Why
Ri-
not?
Right, and when you know that, we're not going to be facing them in the regular season and vice versa, that
You're not in the same division.
you're not
correct.
you're not worried about it, and perhaps if you can help get somebody that is competing for a playoff spot, in the NFC, we got our games with the NFC that they like that. Minshew, by the way, definitely has the mustache. He's over there running sprints, and he's got a mustache beard as he's over there exchanging pleasantries with Jacoby Brissett. And the quarterbacks getting together. But, yeah, great scene here. A lot of families from both teams coming out onto the field, being with the players. And you'll love to see that. Love to see it. And again,
all right.
healthy. That's what you said. Healthy, check. No fights, check. And, they'll go watch the tape. And both teams will probably be convinced, because this felt very even, felt very back and forth. Both teams will probably be convinced by their coaches that they got hammered, and then both will come out
we'll
more.
see what happens
we'll
tomorrow.
see tomorrow.
On that note. Okay, let's take a super quick break here, because when we are done, we are getting JOK to come
right.
join us on set.
Let's go.
right, welcome back to Browns Live, where Nathan and I are joined by the fabulous Jeremiah Owusu-Koromoa. Do you like being called JOK?
JOK, Woo, Twoo, Woo dot Word. I got a bunch of nicknames. So
What does your mom call you?
she then started to call me JOK. She done started to call me Woo, all types of stuff. My mom, when I got to college, she kind of like went with the flow with the nicknames, trying to be funny, trying to be cool and stuff like that.
So when she's mad at you, what does she say?
Oh, Jeremiah.
What about Kevin Stefanski? When Kevin Stefanski's mad at you, what do you get?
Hey, 28.
Was he mad today?
Nah, it wasn't bad today, but.
All right, well, tell us. It's the first joint practice of camp. How do you think it went?
Yeah, it was dope. It was dope to be able to compete with other people. Again, we go against each other all day and all night, and it's fun. But when you get to go against somebody else, you really come together as a team and try to build that team chemistry against somebody else, against the opposite team. And you see new looks. We saw a lot of new looks today, in reference to some of their run schemes and some of the pass schemes, and it was fun.
And so you reacted on the fly within the huddle, or you knew what you were going to see?
Oh, no. I mean, we watch film, of course, takes a few notes, but, it is preseason, so we're trying to still work on our schemes and the things that we do. But, he calls a call, and we know, and we go play. So,
how fun is it that you're finally going to get – because in the preseason, when you got 14 snaps last week,
yeah.
You're not going to get a lot of work. But out here, you have an opportunity to get a lot of work and get situational work against another team, and one that went to the playoffs a year ago. So is this something you get excited for? How do you compare we all have been talking about this kind of as, pundits, I'll say.
Yeah.
Oh, man, these joint practices, that's a bigger deal than preseason games. But for a player, do you feel that way?
It always comes down. Of course, you're trying to work on you. You're trying to focus on your scheme, focus on your team. But again, when it comes to facing somebody else, any opponent that doesn't have the Cleveland Browns in their jersey, it is a pride thing. We do want to uphold the name, the tradition, the culture that we've built. So that's something that we take. We don't take lightly. We take advantage of those opportunities, and we're appreciative of those opportunities.
I have to say, it felt like I was hearing a little bit more trash today than I was the last few days.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to chat it up a little bit. But, we always go by that no bark, no bark, all bite. And that's our kind of that's our intuition. That's what
Jay Emerson that.
Oh,
or Mike Woods that.
Oh, no, they be chatting now. Mike Woods, he got that. He's the one that brought the, the term, dogs, they don't necessarily, we'll growl a little bit, but we don't want to, we don't want to bark at them, too much talk without any action to follow. So.
Well, when you think about where you are right now, 3 weeks into camp, this defense has set a very big goal for itself. Number one, no longer top 5. You want to be the number 1 defense. Yeah. What do you feel really good about what's coming together and what's working right now?
Well, I think the interesting thing is it always comes down to that competition with others, but of course, mainly with yourself. I don't think any defense that you ask, hey, what's your objectives for the season? They're gonna be like, our objectives is number 3.
Want to be average?
Number 2.
Cool.
Like, no. Everybody wants to be that number 1 spot, so we have to do those things that'll set us apart, and that's where our integrity comes into play. Whether it's in the locker room, talking to each other, whether when we step off the field, when we step out of the facility, protecting the team. Everything, all the small intricate things, come down to that goal that we have, and. That's what it is about.
Are there any specific things that are different that you can tell us? Do you see guys in the building later than maybe a year ago? Are you talking more?
Yeah, I mean, guys are there later. I mean, guys are setting the example. Guys are setting the standard, cleaning up after ourselves in the locker room, being on time and even being early. We may get together off the field, whether it's going bowling or go to like a yoga session or something. So we're trying to do things to, really bring forth that team chemistry to propel us to that number 1 spot that we talk about.
And the big part of it, right, it's going to be ball seeking. And you guys go down to Jacksonville, 3 takeaways, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble by Mr. D. Anthony Bell out there. And then today in practice, we got a Parnell Motley pick 6. You guys go
we had
nuts.
Like 3 today.
3 of them? All right, so Motley, I saw Jacob Phillips. What was the third one?
Motley, Jake. Okay, I thought it was 3. Did we get 3? It was something else big that happened, though.
You can't see when
there
you're
were a good
all
lot
the
of
way
PBUs.
over
We had some
there.
good
PBUs.
PBUs. We had some sacks. There were definitely some sacks in there.
Was it somebody else? Dang, I got to think about it now.
All right, we'll watch it back on the
we
tape. It'll be
we'll
there.
play
We'll be like a coaches. We got to watch the tape before we can confirm or deny there were 2 or 3. But when Jake gets the pick, Motley goes down there. You guys are going nuts.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
You guys really enjoy each other.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see the way you guys celebrate even, somebody like a Parnell Motley who's trying to create a career for himself in the National Football League.
He's been balling, too.
Anthony Bell, you guys are all on the field mobbing him. He's been balling. But what is it that you guys really enjoy about each other on that defense?
Well, again, it comes back to that competition. Like first and foremost, we're competing against each other.
Sure.
Literally, I mean, we have a system where he gets points, he gets points. We have a certain team, so when guys are getting the ball, taking the ball away, that's already our objective. But then once you add the competition factor to it against ourselves, makes it even more the merrier.
John Johnson said his team was running away with this thing. Is that true?
I'm on his team.
You're honest. So are you guys running away with it?
It's blowout.
It's a blowout city. All right. Wave
No.
the white flags. Let's go.
Can I ask you very specifically, though? Nathan and I were talking about you and the big step from last year to this year, and we were saying that we'd like to see more snaps.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Say that one more time.
That
for
we'd
me.
like to see more snaps
Yeah.
out of you. We'd like
Well-
you to be a every down linebacker.
Well, it's on the coaches. I think for me, I just focus on what I can control. As we say, control the controllables. Whatever I have to do to propel myself to get more snaps, whatever I have to do to propel myself to have the coaches trust me more, that's what I'll do. Whether it's off the field, learning the playbook, doing more on the field, being more patient, being having the smarts, having the IQ, whatever it is that the coaches need me to do, that's what I do. And after that, the results are the results. So that's what I'm
But
focused
so
on. Right now.
so far, do you feel like that's what you're doing? That's what
Yeah,
you're fighting
absolutely.
for?
For me, I think I am where I need to be, and again, I'm continuing to work, continue to go towards the elevated level, and that's what I have to focus on. I can't speak too much about myself, but again, myself is going to help the team in whatever I do. So.
I remember in Jacksonville, you make your debut last year. Everybody's fired up. You had 8 tackles. You almost blocked a punt. You get a sack. You're covering guys on the side. And afterwards, you're like, but I messed this up. I messed this up. I messed this up.
Yeah,
And you walk over here today, you're like, yeah, but I messed one play up out there, and you were upset about that.
Yeah.
What kind of fuels you in that? What makes you that kind of a competitor? And Joe Thomas was the same way. He said, if I had 64 great pass blocks and I had one that I missed, first of all, that's all anybody talked about. Second of all, it kept me up at night.
Yeah, man, it eats you alive, yo. Like, I don't know. For me, it really eats me alive. Because mistakes, it doesn't necessarily equate to, something, at least in that spot, that's going to help your team. Like, for me as a competitor, I want to help my team. I want to do all that I can. So when you make that mistake, man, that's got to be a moment where you have to, get that right. You have to, it's like something in you that eats you alive, so you have to correct it. I don't know. That's just me,
How are your eyes? And what I mean by that is I remember after that Jacksonville game, you said to me, when you see too much, you see too little.
Yeah.
How are your eyes now in year 2?
They're more patient. That is getting better. But that's one of the mistakes that I made today. So that's something that we got to continue to move to the level. Again, it's every second, every minute, every hour. It's a process, as we always say. It's nothing that's going to come too quick. And again, I'm focused on the process, and I'm focused on what I can do to make this team a better team.
Can you tell us about a few of your teammates? We were talking about Anthony Walker's leadership.
Yeah.
Is he any different this year than he was a year ago?
Nah, man, A-Walk is the most consistent guy on that field. A-Walk, man, he's always a team guy, team first type of guy, and he's able to, really put himself in the position to, help us out. The younger guys, he's seen a lot of football. I remember, and actually, to be honest, the play that I'm talking about, he actually called out what the play was during that play. He was like, "Hey, such and such," and I was like, all right, let me go this way. I should have just listened to him, I should have just listened to him. Lesson learned. But, yeah, A-Walk is a phenomenal guy. I mean, he's able to see things before they happen. And, again, off and on the field, man, he's been a big help to me and to the team.
All right, what about Jacob Phillips now that he's an almost total vegetarian?
Yeah,
Is he
yeah.
a nicer guy?
Jake funny, man. Jake he's funny. That's the first thing you say. He's a funny guy. He has his own way of doing things, what I mean? He's a team guy, but he has his own. He's a unique guy, and that's the guys that you want. I mean, we all are unique in our certain ways, and Jake is able to use his athletic abilities to, again, he's taking some more reps and he's doing his thing. So.
And Sione, Taki, have you hired him to redo your bathroom?
Taki.
Kitchen?
Taki, man. I feel like when I first came in here, he was like, said he was a carnivore. He was like eating all meat or something like that. Taki, he's a unique guy as well. We just got a bunch of unique guys in the linebacker room, and we love everybody, every aspect of it, because that's what makes us us. You know what I mean? So, man, Taki is a wonderful guy.
You got a unique coach who has an absolute zest for football in Jason Tarver, also a visor aficionado. Are you guys ever going to just all wear visors one day with some little floppy hair over the front for Coach Tarver?
Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal guy as well. I mean, when you put together zeal and when you put together knowledge and understanding, I mean, that's
a lot
like,
of
zeal.
zeal.
That's the ultimate combination, and he has both of those. He has a wonderful understanding of the subject that he's coaching, the linebackers. He's coached a lot of great linebackers, and man, he's been a help to us all. And his tenacity and his passion for the game is phenomenal.
All right.
Indeed,
well, we got to tell you, Jeremiah. I feel like now I'm getting you in trouble if I say it that way. I should say like woo instead.
Yeah.
JOK, thank you so much for the time.
Much love.
We've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, much love. All praises.
Have fun,
Thank
and I
you,
hope
yes.
tomorrow there's nothing that eats you alive. And don't let it eat you alive.
Can't.
You
Hopefully.
learn from mistakes,
I'm about to go in there
right?
and watch this. Actually, no, I got to lift first, and then I'm
Are you still lifting what the linemen lift? I remember you said that last year. You want
Oh,
if they
man.
lift heavy, I want to lift heavy.
Look, I'm literally watching him every time. I'm really watching Tommy Tag. I'll be trying to find him, and then whatever he do, I do. So.
What about Chubb? Has Chubb ever repeated what he did this summer?
Chubb, man, I remember when he was lifting all those plates before. I'm like, yo, do we not have camp on Wednesday? like, what are you down there doing?
Somebody talk to him about that. It's not necessary.
No.
Yeah. In any case, all right, thank you so much for joining us. That is another episode of Browns Live, and we will be back tomorrow live for this second joint practice with the Eagles.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Peace.